And we are back. Top Shelf Dynasty League, part two. We're looking at the top five teams here. Boy, Chris, we've only got a couple of contenders under our belt right now. So I got to believe these top five are going to all be studs.
And they
Uh,
were mixed contenders too. You and I disagreed on the last two.
yeah, on the last two, exactly. So, I mean, the points for it takes like a 200-point jump here as we get into our top five. So I think that kind of speaks volumes to what we have here. Chris, over the break while I was getting a little drink here, offer came through in that same exact league I was just talking about. I was offered Gardner Minshew in exchange for what would be the 107 in the 2024 draft if the season ended right now. Um, you know, I honestly think that it's a troll job, but I don't broadcast the fact that I have a podcast to any of these leagues. If people know us, they know us, but if they don't, I don't go out and broadcast it. And so I can't imagine this guy knows and is listening or anything, but it was almost like too perfect timing. Just as I sign off, this thing comes through.
I think maybe somebody is like I think he's maybe sending you that offer in hopes you like expose him to the league so he can get some clout or something. I don't know. Maybe that's the game plan there. I don't. I mean, it's just wild, wild
There's
times here.
there's no explanation for it. All right, let's get right to it here. We got Make It a Dubsel. And we've got Geno Smith, we've got Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Hopkins, DK Metcalf, CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews, Ty Hill, Derrick Henry, and Derek Carr at Superflex. We do have Kenny Pickett sitting here on the bench. Zach Moss was good while he lasted. Antonio Gibson involved in the passing game recently. Devin Singletary still getting some touches. Got Noah Brown came out of nowhere this week, put up 27. We've got Khalil Shakir, Alan Lazard, Michael Mayer, types like that. Injured reserves got Freiermuth and Aaron Rodgers. No first or second this year. Oh man, Chris. Ah, I'm gonna go pretender here. Um, I just don't like these running backs. I think they're okay. They're not gonna kill you. Oh, that may be too hot takey. I'll go contender here. I think that comes off as kind of a need for a pretender, so you're pulling something out of your rear end. I'll go contender here, Chris. The more I look at it, I think it's going to be solid. I think it's a lock it in for the playoffs, but not overly scary.
I think that's a fair take. That the end there here. That was kind of my take too on initial glance. I think it's solid but unspectacular. There's not a lot of high upside players. CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews, obviously the exception to that. This is a team I think, I would scour those bottom end teams for a quarterback upgrade. I think Geno Smith, I think the glass slipper may have come off of Cinderella here for Geno Smith. I am not liking the way he's looked at all this season, really. I mean, he had a great week too, but other than that, I mean, it's just kind of been not great, Bob. So if I could get an upgrade here to Geno Smith, I think that's something I would be exploring with this team. The problem is there's not a lot of capital here to work with. He doesn't have his first or second next year, only a third and fourth. There's not a lot of sort of young potential type players here on this roster, so he may be stuck. Um, and that's fine. I think, we can, if we have to live with Geno Smith and Derek Carr, we'll live with them with these guys. But I think your upside is capped overall with this team. I do think it's a contender, but it's one of those teams that I'm not sure will ever get over that hump to win the title.
I mean, we did sing Ty Hill's praises a little bit before, right? That's going to be the one that carries this team, along with CeeDee Lamb. But I know Geno was bad, but I didn't realize that bad. QB 24, 77 overall. I mean, you saved us from trading for him this past week, saying, letting me know how truly awful he is. And I just didn't see it until I just really looked at his stats right now. But yes, he is awful, Chris. But I think this team has it doesn't have an enormous upside, but it does have a pretty unsafe floor, I would say as well. So that's kind of a situation you want to avoid.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting spot for this team. You know, I do wonder if there's a deal here where I was going to say a 1 for 2, but I don't think that makes sense for this team. All it does is sort of raise his floor up without raising his ceiling. I wonder if there's maybe on the opposite end, maybe a 2 for 1 where you kind of grab a stud and sort of ride with Kenny Pickett or something, or ride with Antonio Gibson, or Noah Brown, or one of these guys here, and just sort of figure it out on the last flex spot, and try and get that 2 for 1 if you can. I don't know if that's available to him. I honestly probably not. A lot of these guys have more roster value than trade value on this team. So he may just kind of be stuck where he is. And I think that's okay. What you're going to have to do in the playoffs is basically catch people on down weeks and have your floor win.
Yeah, I think everything that you just suggested makes this team worse, Chris. I think
Yeah,
this
it's
team
tough.
it is what it is. It wasn't a knock on you at all. It's just this team, it is what it is. And I think that's fine, right? I think we've got a clear playoff team. I just don't know if it gets all the way home, I think is the big point here, but not a bad squad at all. Another big step forward here, Chris. Cold Beard here, sitting at 12-6, about 100 more points than the last team that we just looked at overall. I've got Jalen Hurts, Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, Steph Diggs, Evans, McLaurin, Kincaid, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, and Justin Herbert. Chris, this was a gigantic step forward. This is a legit contender. I think we've reached new territory here with this team. Not a whole lot on the bench. Michael Thomas, who got the big goose egg this past week. KJ Osborne, Darnell Mooney. Wow, big week for Mooney. Didn't realize that happened. Rashid Shaheed, always an okay plug and play guy. Zach Ertz on injured reserve. David Njoku. People are saying look out for Albert O this week. Or sorry, not this week, but going forward with Philly.
Oh,
Um,
stop it,
Listen,
please.
is he a guy that maybe we could put in? Sure. I just think AJ Brown's going to go absolutely nuclear for for the rest of the year, really. They're saying that Goddard's coming back. Are we really getting back to playing tackle football in 4 weeks after fracturing your forearm?
Man, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I think the big beneficiary of the Goddard injury is actually DeAndre Swift. I think he's going to command those underneath routes a little bit more, more than he already does. And he gets his fair share of targets. I think, between him and Gainwell, I think they're going to eat up, sort of those underneath targets. And you're going to have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, soaking up the outside targets. So I don't think it's Alberto by any means. That said, this is a contender for sure. I love this team. I think this team is really, really solid throughout. We've got tight ends up the wazoo. We've got good quarterbacks. We've got okay depth. I think we can figure it out. Matt, I think Tony Pollard is borderline unplayable. And I would look to upgrade that spot. I mean, we can put Saquon Barkley in that RB2 spot and get a wide receiver if we can. I think that's where I'd be going here. We don't have much to work with, but man, to me, with this team, he's got his second. I would offer that pick to the Thielen owner like tonight and get that done. I'd offer a second. I'd offer a second, third, and a fifth. What we have left next year for Thielen, just to make sure to get that done, because I think he fits perfectly here. Pollard is a guy I want coming off the bench to fill in bye weeks. He just does not look like the same back in Dallas this year. And I would get Thielen on this team, move Barkley into that RB2 spot, and go from there.
Yeah, I love this team, man. I think it's really good. I think this is probably the worst we're going to see from this team this week with, Pollard being the way he was, Kamara, Justin Herbert as well. He's just got obviously two of the top 5 quarterbacks here. Hurts is a guaranteed, 25 to 32 every single night. Yeah, I'm not concerned about this team at all, Chris. I'd love for Barkley to, be true Barkley. That may not be happening with the quarterback situation being the way it is, but yeah, there's a ton here to work with. You mentioned the depth not being all that great. I say, so what, right? It looks like
Right.
we're gonna struggle week 13 a little bit with this bye situation. Then you'll lose, Terry McLaurin week 14. But I'm not overly concerned whatever happens these next few weeks. Get into the playoffs, and boy, this team could make a serious splash.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot of firepower on this team.
All right, let's go to Bearben Down, where we had a very similar output so far to cold beer here. Let's see who he's got. He's got Patty Mahomes, Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Puka Nakua, Brandon Cooks, Keenan Allen, Travis Kelce, Darrell Henderson, Austin Eckler, and Tua. Guys on the bench, we've got Taysom Hill, who just an automatic 20 spot every single night. Matt Stafford, Damian Pierce. What else? Lat Murray as well. Justice Hill may be worth a mention as well. Amon Ross sitting here on the bench. Jerry Judy, Michael Gallup, and Cole Kmet. Guys on injured reserve. Nick Chubb might look to deal him. He does have his first as well. Listen, I'll take the last two teams over this one, Chris. I'm not overly impressed. I'm happy to see guys like Travis Kelce, Keenan Allen. But boy, when I was starting off here with Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Puka Nakua, Brandon Cooks, I was saying, oh, baby, this is not good at all. I'm still going to go contender because I think when it's all right, it's all right. But I think this might be the worst of the contenders that I've seen so far.
I I don't know. I think it's a little tough to visualize, I think, because there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of injuries, a lot of bye weeks to deal with. But I think when brass tacks comes through here, I think it's a very good team. We've got Eckler, Amon Ra, we've got Mahomes, we've got Tua. I mean, these are two highly productive quarterbacks there. Pacheco, I mean, he's been productive, no doubt about it. I mean, he just doesn't quite have the upside as you expect. But Kelsey coming off a down week, otherwise he's been amazing. Keenan Allen has been great. Cole Kmet's been great the last couple of weeks. I think there's a fair bit here, and it's a definite contender to me. But I think a lot depends on this Puka Nakua, Cooper Cup sort of dichotomy, how this plays out the rest of the season, right? Like if Puka comes in and he's, a 12 point a game guy for the rest of the season, I don't think that's going to be good enough. But if he's sort of in that 18-point range, 18 to 20-point range the rest of the season, well, I think that is good enough, right? But it just kind of remains to be seen what's going to happen here with those two guys when Stafford is fully healthy over the course of 5-6 weeks. I'm with you here. I would look to trade Chubb and get a little bit better at a position and go from there. I mean, I think that's really your only move. You do have your first, which I would not be afraid to deal, kind of fill things out. But overall, I think it's a very good team, Matt. I think he's got some high quality players. Amon Ra, Keenan, Eckler, Kelsey, all great players. Plus, you have the Mahomes stack. It's a very, very good team. I think he's a title contender, Matt, despite some of his flaws.
I mean, if I squint, I could see it, but man, I just can't get on board with Puka Nakua. Maybe it's time for me to get on board, but I can't.
You're a cup apologist. It is what it is. I understand.
There's some holes, but listen, I think it's solid. Again, any team that has Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes on it is a contender immediately, just from what they can do when they get going. And then Eckler and Keenan Allen should have literally all of the Charger points going forward. And Tua as well. So this is going to be as good a quarterback duo as we've seen. Yeah, it's a contender here for me, Chris. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying, I think I'm taking the other guys ahead of it. Let's move to our top two here, Chris. We got Whiskey Dick sitting here at 2. Top point scorer up over 1,400 points. Dak, Raheem Mostert, Chuba Hubbard, Michael Pittman, Chris Olave, Hollywood Brown, Granson at tight end, T. Higgins, Tyler Lockett, and Joe Burrow. Guys on Chris, that was not inspiring at all. I better see a whole bunch on this bench here.
It's a bye week situation, Matt.
Oh, thank goodness. ETN, Christian McCaffrey. Okay, things are making sense. I don't know if I need to say anything else here. George Kittle as well. Kirk Cousins on injured reserve. Okay, so this is a team that we would build here, right? He does have Burrow and Dax, who he's loaded up at at the quarterback position. He's not missing Kirk Cousins at all. I wonder if there was some type of trade going on there to replenish. Yeah, it was not very inspiring here, Chris. But yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Travis Etienne. Those are three really, really productive guys, giving you your floor, giving you your ceiling. I don't know if I'm anointing this guy a champion, but a clear contender.
Oh yeah, I mean it's clearly a top two team in my opinion. I mean it's a very very strong team. I think this is a team where I would do a couple things. I would look to move like I would move Tyler Lockett, Matt, for Adam Thielen. I think Adam Thielen is going to give you a little bit more consistency than Lockett, and I think for the Thielen owner that buys him a few more years in Lockett. Not that Lockett's the most attractive piece in the world, but he is younger than Thielen, and he buys him back a few more years. So that'd be one move I make. The next move I make is I would be looking to trade my fourth and fifth, plus maybe another piece if I have to, for a guy like Gardner Minshew. I just want to assure that I have a serviceable backup behind Burrow and Dak in case, the unthinkable happens and those guys get hurt. We saw Cousins get hurt already. I just want to be prepared. So it's just minor moves, I think, with this team that can give it the leg up. I think the team is very, very good overall. Obviously McCaffrey, Etienne, Dak, Burrow. I mean, these guys give you a ton of upside. Hollywood Brown, Olave, Kittle. I mean, these are all great players. They have a ton of upside. So I think it's just minor moves to this team to kind of tweak things. Chuba is a nice plug and play. I think it's a clear contender for me. It's a title contender for sure. I like the roster a little bit more than you, I think.
I mean, I like it. It's fine, right? And it obviously looks way better when you've got Christian McCaffrey sitting in there. But listen, it was just kind of you mentioned a Shane coming back.
You're just grouchy tonight. That's all it is. You're just grouchy. It's fine.
I mean, if there's any team I'm going to sympathize with, it's this one with the Kirk Cousins play. And listen, if there's any player we have more of Cousins, it's probably Christian McCaffrey. So like I said, this is a CPMC team through and through. But yeah, listen, contender, no two ways about it. Let's see what the top team. This team better wow me. I need to end on a high note here. Oh, and you're going to start with Jordan Love and Kenneth Walker and Ramondre. Am I going to call the number one team a pretender here? All right, let's go through Jordan Love, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Stevenson, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Luke Musgrave, DeAndre Swift, Chris Godwin, and Baker Mayfield. Guys on the bench, Justin Fields, who knows what's going on with him. David Montgomery probably due back this week. Jahmyr Gibbs as well. Brian Robinson, Brandon Ayuk, Palmer, Christian Kirk, Hunter Renfrow caught a couple balls. Nice to see that this past week. Sam Laporta as well. We've got Justin Jefferson on injured reserve. No picks until forever. Oh man, Chris. I'll let you handle this one. I want to hear your thoughts.
We're on the same. This cannot be the top team. This cannot. I refuse to believe it. God, he's got a great point scored too. He's second in points scored. I do not think this team wins the title, Matt. I mean, based on his record of 16-2 somehow, I mean, we're both going to call this team a contender, right? Like, I mean, we have to just based on the record. He's getting in the playoffs, and by extension, he's a contender. But I think we both agree that this is not. I mean, I would put this team fourth, fifth in line. For me, if we power rank this team to win the title, I mean, this team would be fourth or fifth for me.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I mean, I was thinking the same thing, the way this team wins the title, but I don't think that's I don't think that's a great statement. I mean, if the odds were there, he's not a odds-on favorite to win the thing. If I am going to say something, Chris, I would say let's try to liquidate, if we can, Justin Jefferson. This is a team that needs the first round bye. This team does not want to win 3 games in order to cut down the nets. I would say let's do what we can to secure these next few weeks, get that bye, and be fine. You know, this Detroit backfield may end up being more problematic than anything for this team. You know, Justin Fields, if he can come back healthy, and be productive, I think that would go a really, really long way. But yeah, I mean, I don't see like elite level upside to kind of pair up with what I believe to be a very low floor.
Yeah, and he's probably taking a loss this week with the buys that he has to deal with. Um, it's not a great lineup this week. So I think he's going to be in trouble. Yeah, I mean, this is man. I was hoping to see more, honestly, but I think what I've seen throughout the league is that there's really no, I don't think, elite team. I think it's very wide open. Probably 1 through 8, 1 through 7, 1 through 8. Um, yeah, I think the idea to liquidate Justin Jefferson is a good one because I think this team could use some help. We've got man, we really need Fields to come back and be good for this team. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, this is to me, this is a middle of the road team who's outkicked its coverage through the first part of the season. And we'll see if that can keep up. My bet is not on this team though. But I think there's moves to be made. I think he can improve. By trading Jefferson, for my money, man, I don't think Justin Jefferson plays another snap this season. I think they hold on to him, try and sign him to a long-term deal, and keep him healthy.
The problem is they keep winning, Chris. They're on like a
I know.
5 game win streak right now. I think they're like sitting at 5-4
Yeah.
after starting like 1-4. They go and get Dobbs. I agreed with you when you said that like 3 weeks ago. I don't agree with you now.
Yeah, it's a fair point. They do keep winning these miraculous games, and Dobbs is here and he's playing really well despite not knowing anybody's name. So maybe I'm wrong. I mean, they did say that they're not going to activate him this week for week 10. And we'll see from there basically. Week 11 he gets Denver, week 12 he gets Chicago, and week 13 is a bye. So I don't know. I mean, I wonder if he plays before the bye. I think it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I do wish his bio was either gone or like now. And that would make me feel better about him coming back. But geez, could they, lose this week, lose next week, and then let's just hold them out, lose again week 12, by week 13, okay, shut him down. But if I had to guess right now, I'm saying he does play again and before the bye week. Chris, I'm gonna pick my winner here. I'm going with cold beers here as gonna be my winner here, sitting at 12-6. I just think this is the best lineup through and through. What are you going with, Chris?
Yeah, I think I am gonna go with Whiskey Dicks here. I just call me crazy. I mean, I can't quit, Christian McCaffrey team. I can't do it. And I like the Dak Prescott Burrow combo here. Um, I'm gonna go with McCaffrey. He's the best player in fantasy, and I'm gonna hitch my wagon to him all day, every day.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong there. I think that's good bet. I think that's good. What we'll see in the finals is the two teams that we've picked. So, yeah, that's gonna do it for us today, Chris. This is a fun one. Like you said, I think this is a league that's wide open. 1 through 8, I think, could find themselves in the playoffs. And I don't think this top team here is any type of runaway favorite. So, appreciate you guys having us take a look at this league. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity as we go forward. And we'll end the show the same way we started. If you've got those guys who are not going to be useful to you, just take a deal for them. It's okay to settle and get a third for Gardner Minshew and not get a second. We'll end on that note. Guys, have a great night. Good luck the rest of the way.